Hi there, Paul here from Volaticus, an aerial production company with an interest in flight simulation and aviation. I've been busy adding a few aircraft to my hangar of late, and I've been enjoying the Cirrus jet, which is included with XP11, but I've been on the lookout for something bigger and faster, an aircraft that can cross the Atlantic in style, flying as high as an airliner and at least as fast, yet is easy to get the hang of and to hop in and out of without a steep learning curve. An aircraft that is a bit more challenging but in return yields more smiles per miles, and that aircraft is in the form of the Challenger 300, a super mid-sized business jet from the Canadian aircraft manufacturer Bombardier. The 300 whisks up to 9 passengers in a capacious luxurious cabin over 3,000 nautical miles at speeds up to Mach 0.82 and 45,000 feet. That's just enough to get between the east coast of the US and the UK and parts of Europe without a fuel stop. At maximum takeoff weight, it needs a shade under 5,000 feet to get airborne and maximum landing weight just 2,600 feet to land. This makes it ideal to operate between smaller and city airports, making more places reachable. Launched in 2004, the Challenger's main competition comes in the shape of the Cessna Citation X, the Dassault Falcon 2000, the Embraer Legacy 600, the Gulfstream G280 and the Hawker 4000. So what does it cost to own one? Well, the answer to that question is, as always with these ludicrous indulgences, too much for the likes of you and me. Without skirting around the price, suffice to say that $7 million is the price that Bombardier lowered the cost by to remain competitive last year. So you get the picture. But you're still looking at over 17 million, and that's just the start. Good news is that it's a 2-crew aircraft and not typically piloted by its owners, so not only is it within the reach of a commercially rated pilot, it needs 2 of them on each flight. But that's the real world. Thankfully this can be picked up for a lot less money as an X-Plane add-on. So why would you buy it? Well, if you like performance aircraft but you're not keen on study level airliners, then this is for you. In some ways it's more challenging than airliners, especially when taking advantage of its modest takeoff and landing needs. It's a semi-complex aircraft, saying that. It's simplified to the extent it can be, but it's no arcade experience. Most of the dials and switches do something, and unlike something like the Cirrus jet, it's not aimed at piston engine pilots looking for their first foray into jet flying. This is a Cirrus jet. But with its nicely laid out cockpit and heavy use of glass, it's actually quite digestible, even if you're not a hardened airline enthusiast. While it's not quite a get in and go aircraft, it's not one you'll spend an hour setting up either. Most of the time is consumed by programming the flight management computer, and before you ask, no, it's not a dedicated one, but just the default one in X-Plane. This is both good and bad news. The bad is that it's not accurate for this aircraft and leaves you wishing for more. The good, however, is that if you're familiar with it from some of the default and paid aircraft, then you'll slot straight into the crew seat. Let's just see what you're getting for your cash with this aircraft. Well, you're getting the Challenger 300 model with a few different liveries, plus a canvas version for your own paint jobs. There are plenty of free ones available if you get bored of the ones that are included. Inside the passenger cabin, it's fully modelled with a lavatory and cargo and cloakroom area. Unfortunately, the refreshments cabinet's locked, but you do get a couple of TVs and a music channel. In fact, it's possible to replace the default images on the TVs with your own, and you can put your own MP3s into a special folder which will allow you, or should I say your passengers, to listen to your music, like Come Fly With Me or whatever your music tipple is. The passenger cabin also has animated tables and blinds, and lighting controlled by the cockpit, which is basically on or off, which is a shame because it's a minor point, but it would be nice to have more mood lighting. Privacy blind closes off the cockpit from the cabin as another closes off from the entrance door. Back in the cockpit, and you have the option of starting your aircraft with engines running. In my opinion, there's less reason to start with everything ready to go, as you can be up and running quite quickly if you wish from cold and dark, which adds to the immersive experience. For starters, if you start cold and dark, there's a fast start option, which jumps straight to the start engine line on the checklist and goes ahead and starts both with the APU running. I tend to choose this option if I'm in a real hurry, but I switch off the engine run switches until I'm ready. That way it's like a handover from a departing crew and a useful time saver. But I usually start from cold and dark because there are a few time savers there without the complete feeling that you're cheating yourself out of the experience. So the first thing you would do is a basic setup, switching on the external power and running the aircraft lights before doing an external walk around. This is simulated quite nicely and allows you the joys of taking off seemingly dozens of remove before flight flags, removing the chocks and taking off the turbine inlet and exhaust covers. Nice doing this at first, but it does get a bit tedious after a while because it doesn't simulate anything likely to go wrong, like leaking fluid or a flat tyre. But if you like, you can bypass the walk around and at least have it done for you, so you can concentrate on the cockpit preparation. It seems the external power follows you wherever you go, although it isn't visually modelled in any way, which is a shame. There's very little ground-based extras in fact, and by that I mean things like ground crew and safety cones, perhaps an animated limo, a fuel truck and catering, just little touches that could enhance the experience, but far from essential. Regardless that you don't see it, the GPU is always available, so you can always opt for that instead of draining the batteries or having to start the APU. This is only electric power and doesn't provide air, so you'll probably want to run the APU before long to get the air conditioning flowing and cool the cabin before your passengers arrive. But it's nice not to be burning fuel as you get familiar with the cockpit controls, even if it isn't your cache. The main instrumentation is pure glass with a standby attitude indicator. The only word I can think of to describe this is adequate. It provides access to all the essential systems and appears to be fairly accurately modelled. However, what I crave when paying for a premium product is a more accurate avionics suite, one that takes the illusion of ownership of such an aircraft, or should it be the illusion of being left seat crew in such an aircraft, to a higher level. What is provided is an entry-level avionics system. It would be nice to have a choice of upgraded avionics to include things like moving map and synthetic vision, especially on the premium product. The Challenger 300 has this as an option, but of course in the real world such avionics are third-party products, so it would be a nice touch to have this as a paid upgrade. If this ever happens, my cache is ready. One of the weaknesses of the system is the navigation display, which is barely readable. This is because in the real aircraft the display will be crystal clear and pin sharp, but in the rendered model it's not. In fact, you have to zoom all the way in for it to be vaguely readable, which is just not realistic. Saying this, the glass cockpit is really configurable and delivers all the information you need within one of two panels, and that's per pilot. It would be nice for the main panel to pop out sitting above the 3D cockpit. Some parts of the panel do this, such as the on-screen checklist, but the navigation display could do with being a floating window to make it usable. Sitting above the glass is the autopilot control panel. This is fully laden and quite complex. It provides some control over the glass panel display as well as the traditional autopilot controls. There's no overhead panel on this aircraft, as with many business jets, but the central pedestal accommodates most of what's already in front of you. This pedestal looks more like something you'd expect in a large airliner, but is well designed with all the main controls in easy reach.